Welcome back again. Now we are just going to almost wrap up another technique which is going to be so much fun always to just work with that for the convergence diagnosis, for the method that we are just going to implement for our Bayesian analysis. I'm just going to call this method as shinystan. It's going to be so much fun. I'm sure you guys are going to love it, and you're just going to use that for all the projects that you're just going to work with, because it's going to be very easy and the best one, which I think compared to the other methods that we just worked so far with it. In order to just use the shinystan, we have to just install, there is a package which is the same thing. It's a regular package that we can just go ahead and just install it like that. I'm just going to just go ahead with the name of the package as shinystan and execute that code by pressing Control-Enter. And the package, install packages. There was a problem with the command which I wrote. I just corrected it, and now it's executing the command by installing the package for me. And it's getting installed, as you can see, and it says at the end that shinystan successfully unpacked. Now, in order to make sure, I can just go to the packages itself. I go to the packages itself and I just scroll down and I see there it is. I have the shinystan, which is interactive visual and numerical diagnostics and posterior analysis for Bayesian models. It's so much fun to just work with that package. Also, I'm just going to go ahead with the library command to just write it the same name of the package, shinystan, and execute the line. And you see that the shinystan, there should be a tick next to that. Okay, shinystan, I'm just waiting to see that, the library command, the shinystan, to see that if there is going to get a tick, which it means that the package is now ready to use. There is some kind of, I should say, system is getting a little bit slow to execute that command, and we see that whenever as soon as we see that the shinystan has a tick next to that, it means that that's okay, that's a green light to us. Then we can just go ahead and launch the shinystan to do some kind of analysis for the diagnostics, for the convergence diagnostics of our project. I'm just gonna stop, I should say, the recording right now. I'll let it some time to just start to finish the installation of the shinystan, and when it's installed, I just come back to just continue from where we left. Okay, I wish if I hadn't just stopped, I should say, the recording, because as soon as I stopped the recording, the package was successfully installed, and I only just execute the library command to have the shinystan as an interactive visual diagnostic tools to be ready to be used. Okay. In order to use that, we are just going to go ahead. There is a very interesting commands for it. We're just going to go with the launch shinystan. That's the command that we have to use when we just want to use the shinystan package to visualize the diagnostics of our analysis. And if you just want to see what kind of objects do you need to just fill out the arguments, you're just going to go press F1. You have to tap for the help opens on the right corner of the RStudio, and you see that you have lots of things to include into, I should say, the shinystan function. However, the best one that we are just going to go is going to be the object, which is going to be a kind of a, stand fit object. Stand fit object, if you remember from our previous also tutorials, do you remember the class of the model that we fit? It was model A. It was a it was a stand fit object. Then as a result, I'm just going to go without any further hesitation to just put the model inside the shinystan, I should say, function. And that's the only thing which I need. And I just keep the rest of the things based as a default, which it has. Then execute the line. Don't be surprised. Fasten your seatbelt, because you're going to see something incredible. Okay, I'm just going to execute the line by pressing Control-Enter, and you see that's what I was talking about. Let me put this aside. Okay, it took more than what was expected. It takes a couple of seconds before we just have, I should say, the shinystan ready, and we can just go with the plot. Okay, this one also, as it's going to take some time, I think that's the best thing. If I can just stop temporarily, I should say, the recording when the shinystan package is fully uploaded. I'm going to come back to just go ahead with the rest of, I should say, the tutorials then. I'm back. It didn't take that much time, I should say. It took more than, I should say, almost 20 seconds after when I paused this tutorial, almost a minute. The model is just completed for, I should say, the shinystan on the model A that we had. And it's going to be, I should say, ready to just go to, because as you notice, it opens on, I should say, your browser. You do not expect to see that, I should say, on the, the R and RStudio environment. You're going to expect to see a different page opens on the browser, and that's where you see, I should say, the shinystan, and it tells you the model that we had, it was a woman. Okay, you have many options here to choose. You have the diagnostics, diagnose, and the estimate, explore, and more. Because we're talking about, I should say, the diagnostics, we just go to the diagnose. When we just talk about the estimates and many other things also, we are just going to go to check the estimates. I'm just going to go to the MCMC diagnostics and open that tab. It takes a little bit long, which normally it should not. But by the way, you see that, for example, you have a glossary here. You have, I should say, for the estimates, for the posterior summary statistics, and also the thing which is normally is going to be used for these methods is essentially the diagnostics offer that it has, I should say, to use it for the shinystan. It doesn't normally take that much long to run the diagnostics via the shinystan, but today there is some problem, most probably with the system which I have. Probably if you're just working on your end, you see that when you execute the shinystan, the launch shinystan, that, I should say, the browser tab opens very quickly, and you can just have the diagnostics right away then. I'm just going to, again, because I don't want to have the tutorials have lots of minutes into that, I'm just going to stop it. When the diagnostic, I should say, the tab is open, I just would come back to start from where we left. Welcome back. I just got back very quickly because I noticed that when you just stop the code once, you rerun the code and launch shinystan, it's going to take much faster. Now we are here for the diagnostics. I'm just going to click on it, and this time you see that it opens right away then, and that's what we expected to have. And the long delay which we had initially, it's not normal. It's going to take much faster, but if we just got into the trap which I got into, just to stop the code by pressing the stop sign on the RStudio and rerun, I should say the launch shinystan command. Okay, and now the thing which we're going to do, I'm just checked for, I should say, the diagnostics. You see that we have the same thing that we talked about that before. Let me just close all these notifications from the email which I received. And you see that for these ones, you see the parameters that we have, it's over the top, I should say, on the screen, which you have the parameters for the alpha. If you open it, you have the parameters for the beta, and you have the parameters for the sigma. You're not going to work with the log posterior. That's going to be the thing that we're going to talk about that later. And also, I have talked about that in the other course, which I have prepared for the Bayesian regression analysis. But with that one, we have just worked with the stan R package in the R itself. And we didn't use, I should say, the stan script to write our codes. And now, for example, for the alpha, which is referred to the slope of our model, you see that, for example, the trace plot is something you see that based on different, I should say, chains. Each color refers to a change. And as you remember, we had 4 chains, on the stand function that we initially, I should say, that set there as a result, you see that I should say these for each chain, when you just click on it, you see that each chain with different colors shows that how the sampling has been done, and you see that on the y-axis a range of the estimates that we have for, let's say, the alpha, which is essentially our slope of the linear model. I'm going to go change it, go to the beta. With the beta, you see the same thing. On the other hand, you see that, for example, a histogram for the beta, but the thing which we are more interested, and it's going to be more informative, is going to be about, I should say, this one. And now I can change the parameter from the beta going to the sigma. You see that we have the same history for the sigma, and we have the full convergence for the sigma. That's the thing we also concluded from the trace plots that we run previously. Okay, that was a shinystan. It has many more options that you can just do the investigation on and complete your research, and for each option there is many things to learn and discover. Also, we have, I should say, for example, the step size information, which is going to be the thing that we're just going to talk about that when we talk about the parameter tuning, when we have not reached the, I should say, the convergence. Sometimes we can just change the step size, taking the smaller step size when we just define, I should say, our model with the stand function. If we just sometimes take the smaller step size, it helps us to converge much faster in our model then. Okay, at this point, I should say, it's a good point to stop, to finish this tutorial, because we also, so far, if you remember, we had talked about 3 different methods for the diagnostics, and that one was also one of those methods. There is one more thing that we can just talk about that, but when we come back, I should say, we can talk about that, which is going to be the R statistics. And you can also, on your own, you can just go sometimes to check the other things that we have. We're just going to derive each one of these, I should say, the inferences later, but you can also check the parameters plot. That's the thing which we are going to do later. But also the thing which I was trying to say is that you can just spend your time to explore the shinystan more. But as we just move along, I should say, with the tutorials and the lectures, we're just going to cover some of the most important things also from the shinystan. Okay, now I think that's a good point to stop. I see you on the next tutorial that we're just going to talk about some of the inferences that we are interested to make, as long as now we are happy that the model has converged and our estimates is going to be reliable. Then, as I have always said, I can't wait to see you at the next tutorial then.